Welcome to Random Dialogues 23, March the 9th, 2023. We're live now until 9 p.m. GMT, streaming from the UK. And if you're watching on record, there's 6 of us, there's 6 speakers, talking for up to 6 minutes each to share a story or something we feel passionate about. There's a link in the chat with more information about each speaker. And in a moment, I'm going to share very quickly some overlays to read, for you to read at your leisure, so you can press pause during the replay. With appreciation to our speakers tonight, some of whom have never spoken in this way before. I'm going to go around now and ask the speakers to introduce themselves. We are having a little bit of a tech issue, so hopefully it'll be all right on the night. So we're going to mute in between. It might be that this evening we can't actually engage too much in a big conversation, but we'll see. So I'm going to ask, in order, Niall, could you please introduce yourself? Sorry, your talk.
Oh, hi everyone. I'm Nial, and I'll be talking this evening about my passion for peer power.
Thank you, Niall. Emma. You need to unmute.
Classic. So I don't know if it's ironic or not, but I will be talking, I'm Emma, and I'll be talking about messy reality, a toolkit for messy reality, which we've just experienced with our tech.
Sally.
Hi, I'm Sally Sidani Wilkinson from Rebalance by Sally, and I'll be talking about how menopause affects everybody, men and women.
Julia.
Hi, and I'm from Berlin, and I'm the body whisperer of Berlin, and I'm going to speak about shape-shifting today.
Thank you. Yvette.
Well, having had trouble with muting and unmuting, I'm here, Yvette Masure, about to hopefully talk about sound healing and the frequency of tuning forks through singing bowls.
Okay, so sorry, we can't hear Yvette at all. This is a technical issue that we're having at the moment. And I'm also just going to quickly put up the banners so you can see them. We've got Niall, Emma, Sally, Julia, Yvette, and myself. I'm going to be talking about Seredipitree. So we'd love you to engage with us and introduce yourselves too in the chat. And if you've got any questions for our speakers, as I said, in the middle section, the Q&A, we can get back to chat, or we can answer your questions afterwards. So now I'm going to invite the first 3 speakers to prepare themselves. And now you're going first. I'm sure you know that. I'm going to put you all right in the solo screen. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to mute myself now because of this technical problem, and we're going to put Niall in.
Hi everyone. So yes, I noticed there in my introductory visual, it mentioned that I'm passionate about spaces, and in the past that's meant that I've invested a lot of time and energy in spaces for, I'll say, ideas, both in the physical and the digital world. I spoke before on fire spaces, and on one of Jane's bulletins, her morning bulletins on Fridays, I did a little video about peer power. So I thought I'd bring that into this environment to share my thoughts around how extraordinary peer power is, and how, a starting point for that in a way is my sort of passion for spaces and the spaces between us, and how they could often be kind of wasted, but also be put to such good use. And they're especially powerful when they're spaces where we're able to relate to each other in some way, in some meaningful way, because of something we share, something we have in common. And of course, yesterday I was involved in various events. It's a great example of a global version of that with International Women's Day, of people coming together with something they have in common. with so many things going on in that one day, where there's a shared reason for them to be coming together. My first kind of wow moment, light bulb moment, when I think about it, reflecting back, was when I joined NCT as a young parent. No, I wasn't a parent before I became a parent, and that idea of going through the period of when you're becoming a parent with other people that are doing the same thing, I found that a really extraordinary peer group for me. I'm very aware in my life the strongest bond in some ways is between my parents and myself and my children. But I'm pretty sure there's plenty of research out there that says that isn't as important as the people that you actually are growing up with and you're spending your life with, in a sense of being peers. So there is that kind of studies out there that I couldn't find anything before the talk, but it's pretty widely understood that the people you're actually around you as your peers are more important than the people that brought you into the world, let's say, as you kind of develop and evolve as a person. My second big sort of wow moment in a peer group was joining a Bristol dinner club for midlife people. And when I say midlife, business people mainly, but I found myself a little bit just sort of lost for a few years, and I found this group, and it was like intellectual stimulation with speakers, and really nice. It was called Good Vibrations, and it was something that I found really powerful and helpful for me to find other people like that, where there was an intellectual stimulation, a nice sort of discussion thing over an evening, and quite a focus moment as well. And I found that a really cool peer environment, such that 5 years later, I started my own version of that in Sofia when I was living there over in Bulgaria. For the Bristol one was sort of for Bristol self-employed and consultants and entrepreneurial people, I suppose. The one I started in Sofia was for internationalized people who are maybe outside their home country or bounce between countries a little bit. That same year, I started performing in a band for the first time. And so I've had this wonderful experience of performing music with other people, and the peer format of being in a band, simply wonderful. But perhaps most powerful, also around that time, 2018, we're talking about, I had this life-changing experience being sent to a men's weekend, a men's group kind of weekend, and I've been part of a charity that supports other men. I got challenged on whether I'm ready to be a man. I got challenged for the first time in my life. I got asked if I was all right or how I was 3 to 5 times, and it felt like no one had ever asked me that before. Certainly not my peers. We explored what's the matter with me. Kind of did some deep stuff around my work. We were set free like a herd of men out into the grounds of this amazing place where we did this event. And over the last 4 or 5 years, I've continued to be involved in circle work with other men, facilitated men's groups, done training around that, and also more recently done gender inclusive facilitated training and got more involved in different kinds of groups like that, support groups to support each other. So lots of multiple wows around that aspect of my sort of third wow, which is really all around 2018. So I have a passion to the point that I've created something called the Peer Space in 2018, which started as that dinner group, sort of executive dinner group. I was involved in some events yesterday for Women's Day. The way I see it, it's like we're a peer group of global citizens. You can develop cool peer groups around people in your locality. Cool peer groups. Our main value proposition for the peer space will be business community, how you build community around business, around your area of niche interest. But the ultimate peer space is your perfect peer space, right? Maybe 5 to 50 people who are the perfect peer group for you to take you through your life. How amazing that would be. And that's kind of my vision, is to build something that enables us to have the perfect peer group around us, helping us through navigate our lives. I make that 5 minutes 58. Thank you very much.
We could all do a quick clap and it all will vibrate and echo, but we can still do that. Oh, and there's the time. Thank you, Niall. Okay, I'm going to invite Emma now to the solo screen. Are you ready, Emma? Good luck. Let's put you in.
We can't hear you.
No, oh, you can't hear you, Emma. Maybe because I'm on mute. Emma, for some reason, we can't hear you at the moment. So I'm actually going to I'm going to call on Sally, see if we can get Sally up and see if, is that okay, Sally? Sorry, I think it might be better if we just sort that one out, sort the tech out there. Okay, I'm going to put you in, let's see if we can get you up.
Hi.
Okay, that works.
Okay, great. So when I tell people what I do, I'm a menopause wellbeing practitioner, and I often get a really varied response from people. So generally men, they sort of start twitching nervously, and I know they're sort of thinking, please don't talk to me about menopause, I'm going to be so embarrassed. And then there's women who are in their sort of 40s and 50s, and they're so excited to talk to me about their symptoms and how they're feeling and what they can do to improve their symptoms. And there's some women who are really strong, resilient women, but really struggling with menopause symptoms. And then there's the women in their 20s and 30s, and they quite often sort of glaze over, and I'm sure they're thinking sort of, blah, blah, menopause, that's for old women. That's going to happen to me in years' time, doesn't affect me now. But is it? Because actually menopause affects everybody, whether it's you going through menopause, whether it's your wife, your daughter, your sister, a work colleague, one of your friends. It really does affect everybody, which is why it's everybody's responsibility to understand menopause. What are the signs and symptoms? How does it make women feel? And then how can we support women? You know, that's really important. How can we support women? And you might be asking, what is the menopause? Well, menopause is actually a single day in time when a woman hasn't had a period for 12 consecutive months. The time before this we call perimenopause, and the time after this we call postmenopause. And this whole menopause transition period can last years or even decades, where women might be struggling with symptoms. There's actually over 40 different symptoms, whether they're emotional, physical, or psychological. And they affect women in different ways. Every woman has a different experience. And some of those symptoms might be hot flushes and night sweats, or brain fog, or mood swings, itchy skin, dry skin, hair loss, low libido. There's all these different symptoms, and every woman does have a different experience. And because there's such a variety of different symptoms, women often don't even realize they're going through the perimenopause, neither do their friends and family. So that's why it's really important that we do all understand what those symptoms are. And for 25% of women, those symptoms are debilitating and really severe, to the point where 1 in 10 women will actually leave work because of menopause symptoms. But it doesn't have to be this way. We really need to all start to normalize conversations about menopause and start to talk openly about it without any embarrassment, without any judgment, without any awkwardness. You know, it's a natural part of life. So we need to start to break down those taboos. And thanks to people like Davina McCall, Penny Lancaster, Meg Matthews, all these fabulous ambassadors for menopause, finally we are starting to talk about menopause in the public domain and break down those taboos. And that's so important, so that women feel comfortable and confident talking about the symptoms and getting the support that they really need and deserve. And I say women, but actually anyone who with an ovarian system will have menopause symptoms. So non-binary, transgender people who have an ovarian system will also experience menopause symptoms. So why is it really a taboo? You know, 50% of the population will go through menopause. It's a natural part of life. It's not an illness or a disease. So why is it still such a taboo? Well, I think the Japanese have got the right idea. They call it the second spring, which is a really lovely way of looking at it, a joyful second half of life ahead of us. And I like to think of it as a butterfly. So we've had our caterpillar lives, part of our lives. We're now in our cocoon. Our menopause is our cocoon, and we're going to emerge from our menopause and emerge from our cocoons as beautiful butterflies with all these wonderful opportunities ahead of us. So all the men out there, thank you for listening today, and please do reach out to the women in your life and make sure that they feel supported. Ask them if you can help them in any way. and make sure that everybody understands what menopause is really all about. And if your wife or partner or mum or daughter can't take the kids to the park because they've got debilitating joint pains, or if a woman in a shop has been standing on her feet all day and she's exhausted, or she's drenched in sweat because of hot sweats, or if a woman can't do her presentation at work because she's got anxiety brought on by menopause, we really need to show those women empathy and support and help where we can. And for women in your 20s and 30s, it's never too early to learn about menopause, because what you do now will affect you later. So if you get your nutrition and your lifestyle right now, you can even prevent symptoms in the future, or at least make them easier than they might have been. So be prepared, because we never really know when we're going to go through menopause. The average age is about 51. Most women will go through menopause around age 45 to 55. But for some women, they'll go through menopause in their 20s or 30s, even as a teenager. So it's really important that we're all prepared. So menopause really will affect everybody. Every woman has a different experience. So ladies, if you are in the thick of menopause, you're not alone. Please don't suffer in silence. Do speak out and do ask for help. And for everybody else, let's break down those taboos surrounding menopause. Let's normalize conversations, and let's not have any embarrassment or awkwardness, so that we can really help women going through menopause so that they don't have to suffer in silence. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sally.
Awesome. Thanks.
Emma, let's try again, and Julia, be on standby.
Testing. Can you hear me? Brilliant. Okay. Oh, let's start that timer. There we go. So thank you so much, and really enjoying the insights so far. So welcome to my little random dialogue. And I just wanted to share what led me to choose this topic of a toolkit for messy reality, and not just for this little session we've got on this evening, but generally as a really core part of the workplace wellbeing work that I do. So I have 3 key influencers, and so I guess the first one is really my 25 years of ups and downs in the corporate world. And I went through 5 restructures, had 20 different managers, and certainly some brought out the best in me, but others very much brought out the worst in me. I think we've all got our versions of messy reality at work, haven't we? And good job, I'm very curious by nature, goes with my learning and development background. So secondly, I have, for a number of years, I was a trustee and also ran peer support groups for a mental health charity. And whilst I certainly saw complexity around experiences that people were having with their mental health, and also that complexity around organisational culture, what I really took away from my experience there was just that value. And interestingly, it's the topic that Nial shared, really valuable topic. And it's that value of peer support and being part of a community, and just the value of non-judgmental listening. Really quite impactful being part of that. And then my third and I guess biggest influencer, my biggest hat, I'm a mum, and I've got 2 grown-up daughters, and went through a really, really intense period about 7-8 years ago, and it was one of my daughters through those teenage years. And I guess it was quite shocking, really. So back then, we didn't really talk about that stuff so much, and it was really quite a terrifying roller coaster ride, I can certainly say. And from that, I really, there were some really hard-earned lessons. What I took away is that you can't fix other people's messy reality. But what you can do is you can absolutely offer hope, you can offer practical support. And the most important thing I learned was you cannot support other people unless you are supporting yourself. Now, I thought it'd be useful to share what I mean when I talk about messy reality. And we've all got our different versions, as I say, and we all interpret it in a different way. And I've got a little analogy. So a few months ago, I went for a very nice walk. I go for a walk nearly every day. It's a way I manage my messy reality. Today, my walk was full of rain. The walk I'm just going to mention a few months ago it was a glorious day. I was really enjoying the view. I was, just enjoying the breeze and the blue skies. And then I just looked to my left, and I hope this doesn't put anyone off their dinner, but there was a dog poo bin, and it was absolutely overflowing. I mean, no word of a lie. There were dozens and dozens of plastic dog shit bags all over the ground, full of dog shit. And apologies, you'll hear me use this word quite a lot. And the thing is, it's a bit like our life, isn't it? So we deal with so much day-to-day shit. Often it really builds up and it overflows. We also deal with, the big stuff like bereavement and loss in all its forms, whether it's financial loss or loss of our health, loss of reputation, and we have conflict and we in our relationships. So we've got all this stuff going on, our own messy reality, but also, as well as our own shit, we are often managing other people's shit as well. Now, there's good and there's bad news. So the good news is, I guess, compared to what I went through, Jenny, my daughter, and I went through about 8 years ago, we are really having a lot more honest and open conversations around what we're all going through, particularly, happened, I guess, since the pandemic. Perhaps the downside, a little bit of a downside around that is particularly if you are in the workplace space, and maybe you're a lot more exposed to other people's shit, and you may not have really been given much guidance about how to handle that. So what really gets me out of bed is sharing a toolkit around how we can all, learn to manage our own messy reality, and also ensuring that, whether you're a carer, a parent, a manager, that you really understand your roles, responsibilities, and boundaries when it comes to mental health and all our messy reality, really. So I just want to end on the good news, really, that we are all absolutely more courageous than we think we are. And we just need a range of tools. We need access to a variety of support. There's no one size fits all. And I just want to end by saying thank you for listening. And, here's to managing messy reality. Thank you very much.
How long?
Thank you very much, Emma. So we've heard from random dialoguers, we've heard from Niall, we've heard from Sally, and we've heard from Emma. So if you're just tuning in, this is Random Dialogues 23, and we're live till 9 o'clock. If you have any questions for our speakers, please do put them in the chat. I know that we've had a hi from Phil, who's tuned in. Hi, Phil. We've had a comment from Helen. Thank you for being with us, Helen. I think you're referring to, says, great name for a group, good vibrations. You're referring to Niall's talk on peer power. Any of our speakers here have a question? I know we've been putting some questions in the private chat, and of course we have technical issues at the moment, so we can't all talk at the same time, which isn't helping things. It really is a messy reality. So I'll just have a look through here. Julia, did you want to ask any questions? I know you have put a couple of comments in there.
Yes, I have. This is why I have put it in the chat. I have asked something to Niall, and I think he answered already, but he can answer publicly now. So because I think peer groups can also create, instead of the inclusion, the aspect of exclusion. So what do you think?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's interesting because when I was starting to use the phrase peer power, someone was talking about, that's a positive spin on peer pressure. I'm like, 'cause obviously the peer pressure issue is it's a huge issue, right? So my thought overall is that it's powerful to think of us as a global community. Like that's one form of peer group. the power that at first it was very powerful for me to go into a men's group. It's the reason I talked about it in that way, and then later to do gender inclusive sort of peer groups. So it's like that could be anyone, but so in both cases you could say they are inclusive. But if you did develop a platform, as I hope to, that would enable you to create a whole array of peer groups that are just right for you, then clearly there's huge potential for exclusion. But that might be quite, I suppose that would be quite invisible to most scenarios. So ultimately, the ideal scenario would be you would get drawn to the peer group that's right for you and feel included in that and excluded from perhaps others you're not aware of that might well be cliquey. But certainly the concepts and the stuff that's inspired me around peer power has been generally about inclusivity as opposed to the exclusivity, because of the structured ways that, you know, becoming a new parent doesn't exclude anyone. That if you're becoming a new parent, you're part of that peer group in the same way if you're a man and so on. Yeah. So
thank you, Noel. Thank you for your question.
Over.
Yes.
No more, any more in the chat at the moment. I think that also, if people want to chat on here after, but also in the main link that I've put in, you can have some chat. You can carry on asking questions on there. And I've actually turning my talk into a blog. So speakers here tonight, you might want to think about putting yours into some sort of blog. Then we can sort of share that out and keep these conversations going from this evening as a bit of a catalyst for each other. So
do we have time for another question?
Yes, we do. Yes, if someone's had a question, that'd be lovely.
So Sally, this is also how early do you think we should start with really educating kids on this matter?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I think it's, you know, it's shocking that we don't have education about menopause at school, really. I think that is starting to change. I think some schools are now starting to introduce it, because certainly in the UK, we have sex education, we have education about periods, but we don't get taught about menopause. And until recently, you know, it has been such a taboo subject. And, you know, we never really talk to our grandparents or our mums about it. So you literally have to work it out for yourself. And it's only recently now there's sort of more books and podcasts and TV programs about it that finally women are getting the information, but 100% agree that it should be a lot earlier. It should be introduced in schools, and it should be just normal conversations that, you know, we all talk about within the family, with our friends, and it just should be a normal conversation, like, you know, like periods are, or pregnancy is, sex education is. So I think, yeah, there's more we can do earlier, the better. And as I said, you know, it's like, the earlier you start, the better, because if you do have the right nutrition, the right lifestyle now, you can prevent symptoms or make them easier later. So, and women don't know that, you know, hardly anybody knows that. So we do need more education around that as well, so that women can get, you know, help and support as early as possible, because if you do intervene early, you're going to have, you know, better health outcomes later.
Thank you, Sally. And anyone got a question for Emma? I know we've got one in the chat saying, Emma, do you have what's your favourite tool in your toolkit?
Yes, thank you. So I think my all-time favourite, which I think because it applies to all of us and it applies to so many different aspects of our life at any time we can turn to it, it's always that thinking of what is in our control and what isn't in our control. And yeah, I just think it's a brilliant starting point, and it certainly really helped me during the pandemic when I found myself on the other side of the world in Australia whilst my daughters were in the UK, and I was just obsessed with when am I going to be able to go and see them. And then I sort of shifted it around to be, okay, you know, I don't have any control over international travel. What I can control is how do I find ways and imaginative ways to connect them. And there wasn't a day or second that went by, I guess, where I wasn't able to really draw on that.
Thank you, Emma. Okay, thank you, everybody. We'll now move into the next part of the random dialogues, and I'm going to invite Julia into the solo spot. So over to Julia. You ready? Yeah.
Yes, I'm ready. Can you hear me? Okay, let me put my timer. Okay, so for my spontaneous speech of tonight, I would like to start with a story from my childhood. So I was almost 7 years old, and it was summer, and we spent our holiday in the Netherlands at the North Sea. And I decided that I was ready to die today. I remember that I was in a very kind of an empty state, and I was not upset or something. I was just empty. So I went towards the edge of the water, and as I stood there, I was looking at the ocean, and I adored it with its colors and with its movements of the waves and with its sounds. And when I perceived it as I did, I went and asked it if it can carry me away, if it can carry me far away. And then it happened as if by magic. I became the ocean, and I completely felt as if I was the ocean. So I was sensing my streams, my temperatures, my depths, knowing that I could easily take this little child with me and have it drown. I felt powerful that day. So powerful because I really was the ocean, and I was it fully. And I could feel my mineral content. Tiny things were tickling me now and then. And then this dolphin came swimming along in me because I was the ocean. And as the ocean, I watched the dolphin swimming. I could feel it touching my layer softly as it moved through me as the ocean. So now I decided, as this ocean, to become the dolphin. How would it feel to swim in this super clear and rich ocean water together with all the algae and the other living and non-living things? And with ease, I transformed into the dolphin as I did in the ocean before. And then I looked at this little girl, which was me, standing in the very deep water, getting ready to die today. And I, as the dolphin who was looking at me, the child, became so empathetic. And as I could not carry me out of the water, I decided to become me again. And as me, I then turned around, walked back to the beach where my father was building a sandcastle with my brothers, and my mother was reading a book. And I was so happy that day, so very happy, because I realized that this, my world, is the world that I have chosen as the world that I live in, and I could choose any world as well. So let me tell you what happened that day. This is basically what we call shapeshifting. And the term itself comes from shamanism. And among shamans, the ability to channel is to communicate with nature. It's like the art of shapeshifting. And this comes from tales that the shamans can shapeshift and go into the form of a particular spirit animal. Of course, this is tales. In reality, shapeshifting happens more on an energy level. So that means a shapeshifter can perceive the radiated energy field of another being, adapt it, merge with it. And the shapeshifter does not actively enter into the other being. Rather, it is the spirit of the other being that enters the shapeshifter. The shapeshifter is simply there, and as such is connected to something higher that gives them the ability to access the natural, pure, inherent essence, and to use the deep inner power, the magic or the wisdom. So in our world of today, shapeshifting is the gift to transforming our energy to adapt with whatever this crazy and confused life around us is bringing us next. So shapeshifting is a survival mechanism, natural and instinctive, an ability that we all have in common with each other. And so there are several easily accessible techniques, and one of these I would like to share with you now. And if you have time right now, find an object on your desk and look at it. Notice it. Maybe you can touch it, you can hold it, you can turn it over, you can smell it, you can look at it from different angles and perceive it. Maybe you find something on the object you didn't notice before. So be curious, look at it with attention. And it doesn't need more than 20 seconds or less than a minute. And in these 20 to 60 seconds, you can be fully engaged with this object and fully attentive. And now I invite you to become the object, to be it. Start embodying it. What is it like to be the object or to be in the object? How does it feel as this thing? And are you able to really go into it and to look around the room from the position of this object? So 6 minutes are too short to go even deeper into the practice of shapeshifting. So this is my invitation for you to keep on rediscovering this magic gift that is innate to all of us. Because as we cultivate it, it can support us in understanding those people around us as well as our surrounding world easier, because it allows us to truly feel the others, and it lets us put ourselves in the shoes of the others. So my message for you today is, go ahead and take this gift, practice it, use it to claim ownership over the life you lead. Understand that the world you live in is the world you create, because with every feeling, with every thought, with every word, and with every action, something changes in you and around you. So embrace the world that surrounds you with anyone and anything you encounter, no matter who or what this might be. Aho.
Thank you, Julia. And I'm also going to say, got to go onto the screen. With thank you to Dr. Nick Heap for being here also. He says, yes, about supporters needing support. A great way to do this turns listening to each other. Thank you, Dr. Nick, for being here. Okay, Yvette, should we just see if you can unmute and if it doesn't all crackle and fizz? I'm going to mute and see if it's okay.
Okay, so I've unmuted. If you can hear me, I'm Yvette Masure. Hello. I didn't think I'd be talking tonight, but I've had time to relax in that thought. But I'm talking on sound healing and the frequency of tuning forks and Tibetan singing bowls, and the power of sounds on our emotions, in fact. How to stop the mind's eternal chatter that affects all of our emotions. So of course, well, mindfulness and meditation are effective, but sound healing and frequency and vibration of sound in actual fact can clear our thoughts instantly. We see that really when we listen to music that we generally choose, but even if you go into a restaurant and they're playing music that can completely change your mood. So it's very effective. The connection is through our inner waterways, in fact, our body fluids. And I'm doing this talk actually to get out of my comfort zone by choice, thanks to Jane, and do a bit of public speaking. I'm certainly not feeling like it's the easiest thing on earth, but I hope that you'll bear with me. I've done the groundwork on this sound healing by, well, 50 years of experience at least trying to meditate, amongst other well-being and health enhancing techniques, and being a professional acupuncturist for 30 years, in fact. I've now progressed to this wonderful fine-tuning with sound healing. Using tuning forks and singing bowls, in fact, since 2004, really just experimenting with my patients and clients as I was practicing my acupuncture at the same time. So I've done it to myself and others since 2004, and I've been under the master Frank Perry, who is a musician and a healer himself. But since I started this therapy, I have to say that it has been scientifically proven. Human cells respond to sound by changing colour and shape. I will explain this through the method I use, which basically, in a treatment, we first centre ourselves in our breath. Our breath is our central core. So as we breathe in from the top of our head and down through our heart, into the solar plexus and down through to the feet, we are actually, in fact, respecting life itself, loving ourselves, and also connecting heaven above and earth below, and creating a connection between what we call the microcosmic orbit, that beautiful circular breath, the microcosmic orbit. And I will say that the out-breath should be longer than the in-breath, because there are different methods of meditation. Just as there are different consequences to different frequencies that we use to change our states of mind or emotion. So then I strike the tuning forks, and the frequency that they emit is chosen by me. There are several different frequencies you can use. I can't show you here now, we've got technical problems, but basically you can use them to support perhaps giving confidence to someone, or clarity, or maybe reducing stress levels, or to improve their overall physical and mental state. All these can be enhanced by different frequencies alone. I place the fork held over the ears, I don't touch you, but the frequency goes in through the ear, through the eardrum into the liquids of the ear, that then actually pass through into the skull, which is surrounded by cerebrospinal fluid. And this fluid, as all fluids in the body are, and on Earth in fact, they enable the frequencies to flow through, right through to the center of the skull and to the cerebellum, where we find medially a vessel that holds a lot of liquids called the amygdala. Now, the amygdala is known as the emotional center of the brain by scientists. I call it the ocean of emotion because I didn't know anything scientific about it. I just experimented and actually experienced the most incredible changes through my clients when I used these techniques. Their whole states of being became so much more joyful and relaxed and generally clear. So washing through the body fluids with these frequencies, and there are different frequencies, it's not enough time in 6 minutes to go into the in-depth science of sound healing. But now it is not only an art, but it is a science, because recently, scientifically, it has been proven also that the emotional center of the brain is the amygdala, and that's where we hold all our fear, anxiety and aggression. And if we now can use in conscious understanding frequencies to rebalance and restore different energetics within our emotional center, as we're all trying to do at the moment, you know, as even some of the speakers have expressed, through cleansing and clearing, we're enabled to have more clarity and focus. And this begins with one deep breath, a conscious breath, one deep breath, and listening to the frequencies of sound. I do have a video, a YouTube video called Quality, Balance and Freedom by Yvette Masure, and if this has interested you at all, please do seek it out and have a listen and have a watch at how this is actually put into practice. Quality, Balance and Freedom by Yvette Masure. So thank you for listening. I hope you found this short talk and hopefully understandable talk interesting, and thank you so much, Jane, for giving me this opportunity.
Awesome, well done, Yvette. Brilliant, thank you. Right. It says we want to answer in the public chat. I don't know if we can from here. That's a shame, isn't it? Because I can, but let's look into that in a moment, because we want to answer Nick's comments, yes, as well.
Yes, but first you.
Okay, well, let's see. Okay, so I'm going to speak now. And I'm going to go onto another screen. I'm going to cheat. I'm going to go onto my, I've got the tabs. So if you're watching this and you think, oh, I'd like to come and have a go, and, you know, I've got a message I'd like to share. So actually it's perfectly okay to either talk just, you know, as you wish without anything, or have a script, or I've learned that you can actually put a tab open and go to a tab. So I'm going to leave this. So if there's anything goes wrong, can you let me know? So I'll have to unmute and shout. So I'm going to go to, let's see if I can do it from here for myself. Solo layout. Then I'll go to my other screen and talk about Seredipitree. Okay. It was February 2017, the year after we'd returned from our 2-year family adventure in Tanzania, where I was teaching. During this time, I also facilitated a kids club called Life Coaching for Kids and wanted to put on something locally back here in Burf and Guildford for the children, where they could come and relax too. I called it Nature Explorers, and rather broadly included nature walks and talks, games, mindset, yoga and relaxation. I also put a talk on during that time, separately to the sessions, called Happy Kids, What's Resilience Got to Do with It? But at that time, people didn't really know what I was talking about with resilience. It was a word rarely being used and they were just confused. That said, I did run some successful workshops for the parents. I held the kids sessions in the local community centre in the park, which was called Sutherland Memorial Hall. I rented it for 2 hours at £16 an hour and put a couple of posters up locally in the local shopping parade. I wasn't able to find ways to access the community boards to help promote it. I was new in the area, didn't know people. Plus, I wasn't very good at knowing how to market events. And my flyer was not great too. I'll just show you. I've got in here the flyer that I made at the time. There it is. And I put a couple of those up. So I dragged my own kids along and they brought a couple of their reluctant friends. And another young lad came whose parents had actually found one of my posters and they really wanted him to come along. So it was a small gathering most weeks and they liked the games and being in nature, being outdoors best of all. The yoga didn't go down so well. On a couple of occasions, we went into the park for our nature walks and some of them didn't know the word for daffodil, hawthorn, hazel. So it was nice to be able to share and teach them about these things and share my passion too. And there was a tree next to the hall where we looked at the emerging buds. I had a pack of charcoals and taught them how to draw it. And imagine there were some shadows beneath, so they were able to draw it. I captured a picture of my friend's son helping another child draw the tree. And I'll just show you that one now. This is the children doing yoga. This is the children in the park. And this is a picture of the children supporting each other with the drawing. And that's a picture of the tree. So I also think it's quite nice to document things when we go sometimes because we don't always know where we're going to be with those things in a few years' time. So I like to document as I go. Yvette, who has spoken just before me, is the child's grandmother on the right. And we met when she was visiting Burpham one time. In fact, Yvette came along to one of these random dialogue sessions at the pub in 2018. So we could say she's a founding member. Whilst checking in with Yvette ahead of today, we were doing our tech check and sorting out our cameras and hoping there was going to be no tech issues today. As she moved the screen, I spotted the picture of the charcoal tree framed on her wall behind her. She didn't know the story of the tree or that her grandson had been attending my sessions at that time. She obviously knew that I knew her grandson because our children were friends, but not the origins of the picture. So that's why I decided to talk about the tree today. It was a nudge, I felt, not a singing bowl, but a nature call. I'm involved with a group headed up by Ruth Stone, who spoke at Random Dialogues 19 in 2021. She talked about how a community mindset creates more for all. We're working on getting our community hall back as we no longer have access to it. It was hard enough and expensive enough to rent at the time, but now the doors are closed to us and I'd like to be able to go put on, speaking events like this to our local community. So I'm part of the mission to bring back the hall to the community, not to simply replicate the old order where you've hired it and flew or fell on your ability to fill it. Our aim is to create and promote a comprehensive programme of events that employ, engage and involve the whole community. It's sort of our belief that a more strategic programme will build the buzz that Burpham needs and re-energise a community asset that's been fallowed for so long. What a waste. So perhaps there's a way you could connect locally with your story that you've shared today. An opportunity at a local hall that's open. Perhaps you could even get involved with putting on one of your own Random Dialogues events. Please let me know, as I'd be happy to support you, as it's always been my intention and vision to leverage this speaking platform. And thank you very much for listening to Seredipitree. And here is the picture of the tree. There. So let me have a look at the comments. There's a comment here from Phil. It says, can you please, Yvette, can you put a link here to your YouTube video? I will help Yvette to do that later. When we come off here, I can share the video. Thank you. Yeah. And in the private chat. Would anyone like to ask any questions to the last three speakers? No, or we can maybe continue these conversations I've said afterwards. I thought Yvette saying, no, not now, no tech for the video. It's brilliant you got here. It's been quite a journey, hasn't it, doing this, Yvette, and getting on board with all the various links I've shared and the tech. So it's amazing. Thank you for being here. So would anyone like to say anything in conclusion of our Random Dialogues 23, March the 9th, 2023?
Can I say something, Jane? Because I wanted just to reply to Nick's question.
Yes.
Of course, we can also speak with Gaia, channel Gaia. Actually, Jane and I met, I don't remember when, it's long ago, but then I was still called, or I had the name Princess Gaia, and as such, I went to academic conferences and spoke on environmental conferences to academics from the perspective of Gaia, from the perspective of the ocean, from the perspective of things and of resources. And now we have a group still, we are called Gaia Storytellers. So yes, we can channel anything. And this is for me very important. We can shapeshift into anything, or anything can shapeshift through us. And yeah, that's what I want to say. And the second thing is, Jane, you inspire me really very much. And thank you for giving me this opportunity again today to speak.
Thank you. And it's nice to have returning Random Dialoguers, because I think the more we do these, the more confident we get. It's like you might come tonight and think, actually, I'd like to speak again in the future. So please, you're welcome. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to just see if there's another comment from Nick. Princess Gaia. Wow. And we met through Facebook, Julia and I, and she was writing and on Medium as Princess Gaia. And then we went to Speaker's Corner. I met Julia at Speaker's Corner and she wanted to speak there. So we filmed that, didn't we, Julia? And wouldn't it be lovely if we all went to Speaker's Corner? Maybe come over and we could all go and share our stories there.
Yes, we should all go.
I'm in.
Should we do that? That'd be fun. Should we organise that?
Yes.
Can I say thank you, Jane? It's a fascinating mix of talks again, and it's always feels like a safe space. So appreciate that ability to sort of good environment for trying things out and being heard and seen.
Brilliant.
So thank you.
Thank you, Jane.
Yeah, thank you, Jane. Thanks for the opportunity. Appreciate it. It's been a really lovely evening.
Thank you. And thank you so much to our audience. Really, really appreciate you being here. It makes a difference when we, we know people are listening and appreciating and chatting too. So we'll see you. Next one is in May. I can't quite remember the date, should do, but it's May, and I'll share that link out soon. So I know Nick's coming to speak at that event. So we look forward to seeing you there, Nick. And again, thank you very much, everybody. I'll end the broadcast now. and then we'll just say in the broadcast room if you want to stay and chat, all of you. Goodbye, everybody. Should we give a wave? Sorry, I forgot I was on. I forgot I was on solo. Then sorry, everybody. Great at this. Yeah, I wasn't meant to be on solo.
Then I gotta head down to my father again. Okay.
Okay. Take care. Bye.
Good to see you all. See you soon.
Bye. 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 Bye.